Well, it's the evening of day 3 on the Erector Hudson Locomotive, and I am going to do the next thing, which I think we've already done all these guys. I think the next thing here, looking at the plans, I think I'm going to have to take off these running boards with the air tanks off the sides in order to really get access to anything else as an assembly. So that's going to be the next thing. I'm going to try to take this off right here. Slight change of plans. To take this off, I have to undo these screws, but to do that I have to get to the nuts. And the only way to get to the nuts, I think, is if this is off, then I can reach in and get to the nuts. So maybe we're going to instead start from this end and disassemble going that direction. We'll see if that works. Well, this looks like one of the first parts I've come to. It doesn't really appear to have been overpainted because it was hidden back in the cab, more or less. But you can see up here at the top, right up here, that there's kind of a glob of what looks like factory paint there. And these edges here are bent. Not sure why. And then another thing I noticed, I mentioned before, this guy here looks like it has never been bolted on. We had a little rub mark on the cab right there. This side here, same story, not bolted on. I'm not sure what's up with that. Well, I've taken this piece loose now. It was right there. Taking it off. There's some dust underneath here, and dirt, and grit. You can see where it was overpainted. So I'm going to have to work on stripping that. But this area here, just lightly dusted, should be, I would think, original paint, just under dust. And it looks like that is the case. Cool, so you can see the overpaint and then original paint. That's original paint there too. This just needs a light buffing to get the oxidation off, and you see it gets back to shiny once you buff the oxidation off. The oxidized paint came off my finger, and there's good stuff underneath there. Yep. Moving on. While I'm here, take a look inside the boiler. That is very dark in there. Let's see if I can get a better angle, some light. There we go. Now we can see inside the boiler. We're in the firebox back here and looking into the boiler area up front. I can get access to all the nuts now. Awesome. Okay, now this is a first. I took this little guy off. It was right there. I just took that off. And when I did, I found that there was actually a lock washer underneath it. There we go. First lock washer I've come across. I've taken these screws out all the way around in the firebox, and this part just dropped off from right there. Kaplunk. So it's covered in dirt and grime. So much dirt, it's almost like ash. I wonder if they tried to light a fire in the back for the boiler. But it doesn't look like there's anything that's burned, it's just dirty. Well, I have all the screws out of the Redneck ultrasound. They seem pretty good. Here's the cover. I guess it goes that way. This goes that way. That's on top of that. And this is inside underneath there. So Yeah, I think this installed is something in there, or yeah, must be something like that. So anyway, I have these cleaned up. This one I didn't strip, I just cleaned it. A little bit of beeswax on it. This one here, this is cleaned up. I stopped on these because I am worried that the paint might be a little thin, the original paint on this. So I left some of the overpaint on it just to be on the safe side. I'd rather leave a little overpaint than to scrape through the good stuff. So that's what I did there. That goes on that. And this here, under the overpaint, was exceptionally thin in that location. So that's why I stopped and didn't even try to get the overpaint off of that and at some of the edges. This side was much better. There was no difference in what I did from this side to this side. And that was either already thin or it came off with a single swipe. Went from looking black to looking like that with a single swipe. So I'm not sure. But anyway, that one is partly covered, or mostly covered, so I'm hopeful that it will not be too bad. Okay, moving on. Now I think I can go ahead and do these side walkways. We'll see. Well, I've reassembled the firebox loosely, just so I can have it all together. That goes right there in front of the cab. The cab, this bolt here attaches right there. So, actually I think that bolt there should be there. So I think that one grabs it. Anyway, we'll figure that out when we reassemble. Now to the side walkways. I have the first side rail off, and it was held on by these four originally at the top. These were tabs, but then the front screw on each of these air tanks, the front screw, this one and then this one, went through. The front one grabbed this piece on the linkage and then had a nut, and this one grabbed this and had a nut on the bottom of it. So that's how that goes together. Very interesting. And this is the first sign of significant rust that I've seen, is right here and right there and right there, which is kind of weird. It's all up against the edge of that. I wonder if somebody spilled something on it at some point. I don't see any rust on the inside, just on the surface of these nickel pieces. Those 3 nickel pieces. We'll continue to take it apart and clean it and see what we can find. One more thing I wanted to add. There's a spacer collar right there. Doesn't have a set screw in it. It's just being used as a spacer on each one of these. I wanted to make sure I recorded that. Right there. Okay. Okay, I have the right side rail off, left side rail is still on. And I've arranged the pieces in the order they came off. There's the rail top. These screws here come through these holes, through the holes in the top and bottom of this. These are stuck on, and so that goes through those top and bottom holes in that too. Oh wait. First, after this comes this, so it really should be like that. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. That is the way it goes through in the correct sequence. Okay, there we go. Now we have the correct sequence. These are the 2 front screws that go into the side of the boiler. I'd already removed the back screws for removing that. So those are all the screws and where they go. I've cleaned the side walk there, and I don't know what you call it, the platform that goes on the side of the boiler, and cleaned up these guys. They were painted black, and now they're nice and shiny and cleaned. You can see what the originals look like, where they're all dirty. When you get cleaned, that's what they turn into. So far so good. Now I'm going to put it back into an assembly and set it to one side. There it is, back together as an assembly. That's where it goes. Like that. That bolt goes through that piece right there. Right there. Little hole there. And this guy right here goes through that piece right there. And that's how it goes on. Awesome. One down, one to go. Well, it's getting pretty late, so I think I'm going to probably end there instead of going ahead and doing the other walkway. One thing I did real quick though was I went ahead and attached the steam whistle right there. It says it's supposed to take an 1 3/8 inch long screw, but I didn't have any of that length, but I had some that were a little shorter that seems to fit. I'm not sure why they wanted such a long screw there. So in lieu of getting the correct screw, I'm going to use one of these kind of screws right there. And if I figure out a reason why it needs to be longer, I'll change it, or if I can find the correct screw, I'll change it. But for now, it's another Erector screw, and I'll just use that. Seems to work. Here's a quick fly past. Show what's going on. That part has not been restored yet. These guys over here have. Well, I'm waiting on a few parts. Fun ones to get are going to be the headlight and the cattle guard, cowcatcher rather. Those are going to be fun. Haven't found those yet. We'll see what happens.